light within my heart, light within my thoughts, light within my words. May one and all and everything, blessed and loved, ever be. Welcome. I am Sister Who. Someone gave me, a good friend gave me a book when I was in high school that at the time I couldn't quite understand why she gave it to me, but I think it was perhaps what she was observing about my life, and perhaps she thought it would help me to understand myself better, because when I was in high school, I knew I was different from the time I was 4, but the town in which I grew up, being gay was so not talked about that I didn't really know what gay was, and so I didn't know what I was when I was in high school. But I think she recognized it, and it gave me this book. It was an autobiography by an actor, and it was entitled. It's kind of complicated to explain the title of it, but the title of the book was "It Would Be So Nice If You Were Not Here." It was basically someone who was trying to be very polite and said that to him at one point in time. And in a similar sort of way, I guess, that was kind of what this friend observed happening to me, and I had to agree, yeah, that's kind of what could be describing my life as well, that everyone's saying it would be so nice if you weren't here, because something about my creative anomalous presence was always challenging people, even when I wasn't trying to. And it wasn't that I meant to be a challenge, it's that I was trying to live with integrity the life that I found to be my own, and to express with integrity the perspective that was my own, and use my own words and have my own thoughts, and to do it all with integrity. And I didn't spend a lot of time worrying about whether it was similar or different in comparison to those around me. But something about having, long before Sister Who ever became a reality, I was this sort of person that challenged people to rethink their ideas and to rethink their practices, and so in many cases they would start avoiding me because they didn't like being challenged. They were comfortable with the way they were doing things, and didn't want someone showing up poking holes in it by pointing out that what they were doing really wasn't that effective, and really wasn't that honest, and really wasn't even that good in any sense of the word. But it left me, I guess, at many times in my life where I really wasn't completely aware of it, that being the one that people didn't want around, didn't want there. And I am a minority in so many different ways anyway. Being gay makes me 10%, being a Myers-Briggs INFJ makes me 2%, being autistic makes me 2%, being having A negative blood makes me 6%. I'm always in this tiny little slice of humanity that there just aren't a whole lot of people who have the same qualities that I have, any one of the ones that I've named anyway. Which I guess leaves me in this place of, the question that came to mind the other day is what to do when you're the one that people don't want. And, does that condemn me to a life of solitude? And, well, I don't know if it does or not. I guess it depends upon whoever's in my future. There's certainly no one in my life at the present time, and I would love to have a sense of family and someone to love and so forth, but at the present time that's not a blessing that I have. But the thing to remember whenever someone says I have nothing, it's not exactly accurate, because when you're standing on a bare stage, when you have nothing, when you have an emptiness, you have a space to fill, you have an opportunity, you have something you can do with where you're at. You have a new beginning, I guess is what it comes down to. I don't often get around to sharing my songs within these shows, not because I don't want to, but because I get talking about some topic or another, and then I forget to include the song, and suddenly we're out of time again. But one of my songs that comes to mind at this point, a chorus I wrote many, many years ago, and then later wrote the verses for it and recorded it on one of my albums. Meager resources as measured by man, seeds in the soil of God's almighty hand, embracing the mystery since time first began, of wisdom and love, right here where we stand. The thing I guess I was thinking and trying to bring out in that when I wrote it was that sometimes it seems like I don't have a lot to work with, and I have to make the best of what I've got, and what I've got is just simply inadequate. And then I apply myself to it and be as creative as I can, and lo and behold, what I create with it is totally amazing to people and touches somebody's heart. Different times a thought will get stuck in my head and it'll go over and over, and trying to come to terms with the contrasts and how the most unexpected things come out of the most unlikely combinations, and looking in the mirror and wondering sometimes at the creativity that comes through me, and looking at it after I'm done and saying, wow, did I do that? A lot of it is just by showing up and allowing for the possibility. When I'm the one that no one wants, I can still go home and write a play, record a new TV show, or post something on my website, and then suddenly somebody around the world sees it that I don't even know is looking at that time. But by showing up and giving what I can, even in spite of being the one that no one wants, it gives God some raw material to work with, to pass along to someone else who may need to hear that exact thing right at that moment. Another one of my favorite choruses that I incorporated into one of my modern morality plays, in the one called A Sequential Journey, I believe. In my nothingness, a seed of life may grow. In my somethingness, a light may finally show. In my growingness, wisdom I may know. In my beingness, love may finally flow. In any case, I'm happy to share my songs with you. I hope that their words are meaningful to you also. Even or especially when we look in the mirror and we see the person who nobody wants, know that that is still someone whom the divine or whom life can use. That if you're willing to show up, whether you believe in a personified deity or not, if you're willing to show up where there's an opportunity to do something good, there's no telling what ripples that act of kindness or wisdom or generosity may have in the lives of others. I encourage you to trust your own creativity as well. It's something I struggle with constantly, actually. For all the creativity I do, I still struggle with it constantly, wondering if what I'm doing is good enough, because during the first 2 decades of my life, I was told so many times over and over and over that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't what they were looking for, I wasn't what was expected, and I had to find a way of believing in life in spite of all of them. And there are a lot of times where I wonder if I ever did find it, and yet I'm still here, so I guess I must have found enough. And so I keep going and hope that what I offer here is helpful to you. That perhaps in my stumbling, in my rambling, in my creativity, in my simple songs, there is something that will help you find that which is special in you and bring it out and share it, because it doesn't have to be perfect. And if you give it with confidence and conviction, or even without confidence, if you sing in a wavering voice, but the fact is you get up and sing, it's ultimately, it's not about how perfect or how did I put that? The value is not in the skill, but in the participation. It is not in how well you sing, but the fact that you do sing, that there is opportunity for wonderful things to happen in the lives of others around you, and in the lives of anybody who hears you or sees you, or hears or sees a recording of you. Continuing with comments on some of the songs I've written, and the unique ways perhaps that these came to me. There was one time where I was in a particular sort of weekend workshop, where at one point the facilitator was encouraging everyone to see themselves as, I guess in a tribal sort of way, to see themselves as the progeny of their parents. Problem in my case, of course, was that my parents want nothing to do with me because they didn't want an openly gay son. And so as he's pressuring me to make the statement, I just had to say, no, I can't answer that. And I can't make that statement because these are the people who don't want me anymore. And as I continue to ponder that and wrestle with that and sit with the question and not dismiss it, not push it out of my head, not repress it, not push it aside, but to sit with the question of, who is my mother, who is my father? And to somehow transform the pain of that rejection into something more empowering. And late that same night, I got this sudden inspiration and went to my desk and wrote down a song, and wound up recording it later pretty much unchanged from that first impulse to write it down. I rise in the morning and see the new day, stumbling along an uncertain way, wanting to find in each moment I see that which is real and the one who is me. My father is wisdom, my mother is love, within and without, below and above, the earth and the sky, the hawk and the dove. My father is wisdom, my mother is love. I run through the fields in the warm noonday sun, a race to my finish already begun, pretending my arms are wings that can soar to still higher places where I can learn more. My father is wisdom, my mother is love, within and without, below and above, the earth and the sky, the hawk and the dove. My father is wisdom, my mother is love. In the evening I listen at my father's knee, I attend to my mother's beckoning plea. I speak from my heart with my voice very loud, that what I want most is to make them both proud. My father is wisdom, my mother is love, within and without, below and above, the earth and the sky, the hawk and the dove. My father is wisdom, my mother is love. One day to the next, my journey goes on. Through tears and through laughter, I learn a new song. A song for the orphan and the one who's in pain, that through wisdom and love they be healed once again. My father is wisdom, my mother is love, within and without, below and above, the earth and the sky, the hawk and the dove. My father is wisdom, my mother is love. My father is wisdom, my mother is love. My father is wisdom, my mother is love. So, whether it's an invention, whether it's my own invention or whether there's an external reality to it, I don't know that that matters as much as whether it empowers me to be a wiser, more loving person. That's where the real test comes. Whether you're Muslim or Christian or Jewish or neo-pagan or whatever sacred text or creed or practice, if it doesn't make you a wiser and more loving person, then it kind of begs the question of why. And, are you fooling yourself, or is my mentioning this, I don't mean it as discouragement. I would rather that you use that awakening to go deeper into your spirituality and find the part that really does work. Every belief system you can name works for somebody. Any one of them may work for you or they may not. That's up for you and the divine to decide. And if the divine decides to manifest as Allah or Jehovah or Yahweh or Goddess or God or Ardhanari or Kuan Yin, does it really matter so much as the fact that the divine does manifest? The perfection of love and wisdom manifests and comes to you and flows through you and inspires you. And if it comes with no name and just a deep abiding presence and awareness, a feeling of awe, of looking at perhaps a picture of it from the Hubble telescope and feeling so in awe of the scale and the color and the beauty and the magnificence of what you're seeing, and in that finding yourself to be more than you were before that moment of perception, before that moment of experience. And I'm always looking ahead to say, wondering, okay, so what's the next song I'm going to write? What's the next thing that's going to inspire me? And people have asked me on occasion, so what style of music do you write? Well, I've done so many different ones. Some of them are pop, some are almost liturgical or classical sounding. And then there's one that is so wonderfully country western that I keep thinking someday we need to have a country western band perform this with a good fiddle and a banjo and the bass guitar and so forth. But I was trying to reflect on how everything is so interconnected and everything, and what it seems like every healthy relationship I can name always points back in the direction of being a symbiotic relationship. And so I tried to explore that further, and this is the song that finally started coming through. So many take for granted what gives life to our days. In a single tiny moment, it all could go away. So I celebrate the earth and sky, and I thank God for you. It's the little things that make me smile, that help my dreams come true. Without a face to shine upon, Sunlight can't be seen without a place to put its roots. No plant can turn to green without a dream to guide my way. I won't know where I have been without a hand to hold my own. What can love ever mean? The sunlight in the morning, the hope within my heart, the work that is mine to do, it's all a place to start. Here my dog comes running, just happy to be nearby. His sloppy kiss upon my cheek says I'm the reason why. Without a face to shine upon, sunlight can't be seen without a place to put its roots. No plant can turn to green without a dream to guide my way. I won't know where I have been without a hand to hold my own. What can love ever mean? Without a face to shine upon, sunlight can't be seen without a place to put its roots. No plant can turn to green without a dream to guide my way. I won't know where I have been without a hand to hold my own. What can love ever mean? A fun sort of song. And I guess, I don't know, people seem to get hooked on categories and genres sometimes. And more often of late, I'm telling people, don't taste the categories, because no individual is the embodiment of a category. I guess the question is whether that applies to songs as well. Is any one song the embodiment of the category? And I guess I would say, well, it can't be, because the minute, if any one song were the embodiment of the category, then all the songs that were not exactly like that one would be out of the category and put somewhere else. But understanding that there is a phenomenal amount of individuality, both to art and creativity and to spirituality, that each person experiences a creative work in a completely unique fashion. You know, we could all be looking at the Mona Lisa, and everyone will report something different. Or we could all be looking at Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, and everybody would notice something different. We're all looking at the same painting, but we're all having different experiences. If perception is so individual and experience is so individual, it would make sense to me that spirituality must be equally so. A very, very individual thing, that what works for one person won't necessarily work for another, and what works for the other won't necessarily work for the first. And so allowing all of that to be very individualized, and yet as an interfaith minister being present to help people do their exploration, to say, give it a chance, see what it says. If it says nothing, fine, you don't have to look at it again. But don't stop looking. Keep finding out what is real to you, what inspires you, what gives you energy, what makes you glad to be alive, what puts a spring in your step and joy in your heart. I mean, there's so many different ways of describing it, but it's all the good stuff that makes life worth living. And everyone's going to find it in a different way. And my only concern is that they find it. So I just hope that in my ramblings and in my stream of consciousness, channeling these insights, if you will, or allowing whatever intuition inspires me to say to flow through me, I hope that this is helpful to you. And if we ever do get to meet in person, I hope that I will not be absolutely absurd and do anything pretentious, but I can't imagine I would. But if I'm deep in thought about something, don't be afraid to ask for clarification or invite me to come back to the surface. I'm up here wanting to talk with you, and you're pondering some deep thought again. And yeah, I do that a lot. I ponder deep thoughts a lot. I ponder difficult questions a lot, because I find so much life within them and so much possibility within them. But it's not that I'm any better than anyone else. I'm just another person who's enjoying the journey and the exploration. And, well, maybe not enjoying all the time. Sometimes I'm suffering through it. but I still wouldn't want it to end. And I'm looking forward to getting through it, reflecting on how I've grown, and discovering what other possibilities follow, and what other manifestations follow, and what other wonderful people follow, because I'm sure my future, if nothing else, I'm sure my future is filled with all sorts of wonderful people whom I haven't met yet. And more so as I continue to work on making a doctoral dissertation of my nearly 30 years of experience of being Sister Who. So someday, hopefully not too long in the future, somebody will introduce me and everyone will get a good chuckle out of it as Reverend Dr. Sister Who. In any case, do I take myself too seriously? I don't know if there's such a thing as too seriously, but there is such a thing as taking oneself too partially. When we take ourselves seriously and holistically, it has to do with incorporating the difficulties of life with the joys, with the absurd moments, with the serious moments, with all the moments all mixed together into a wonderful wholeness that invites connection with the holiness of the divine. Thank you very much for watching. I hope my comments have been helpful to you.